Taurus friends, this is Kristen Redman, and today we are going to discuss what is upcoming for you in this new year of 2019. And I hear you out there, Taurus, you're saying, but Kristen, it's January 26th. Where's my video been? Every other sign got their video up besides Taurus. And let me tell you, it wasn't because I'm hating on Taurus. It's because I got the pneumonia. And I have been out literally since January 5th. And I have not been able to produce a decent quality video for you. But now that I feel I am coming back to life, and with the nudging of a wonderful dear friend / Taurus, I'm not going to name names, but I am going to point fingers, yesterday, saying, where in the world is the Taurus video? Here it is. Here we are. Taurus. And of all the videos, it's for you. Like, this is such a pivotal year for our Taurus friends with Uranus moving into your sign. I mean, this is something that's been 80 years in the making. Uranus moves so darn slow, and it electrifies and it shakes things up in our lives, and it ultimately pushes us to greater levels of freedom and independence and happiness, because the real, true, authentic you can shine through. And that's always by the help of crazy, erratic, unpredictable Uranus. And as it lands in your stable sign, it creates some pretty major shake-offs. And I'm not saying that they're bad by any means, but this is a 7-year process where you feel it's stronger at the beginning and then again at the end. And obviously there's a lot of transformation that happens in the middle time, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. But ultimately it's just such an amazing time for personal growth and amazing change, and living in that purpose of why you chose to be a sun sign in the sign of Taurus this lifetime. So we'll get to that in a little bit here. But it's a general overview for my Taurus 2019 friends. This is a year where life becomes full of these welcome surprises, thanks to Uranus. Like I said, remember, it hits its hardest at first, and then again when it leaves your sign, and that's obviously 7 years from now, so you got a minute before that happens. But at the beginning, it's going to bring things through in the most crazy and erratic of ways, but they're going to be welcome surprises because they ultimately are pushing you out of those comfort zones that Taurus is so notorious for staying in these comfort zones, because you love comfort, right? But it's not good in terms of personal growth when you're stuck in a situation that isn't good for you either, or cycles that aren't good for you. This is a year where Uranus pushes you outside of those comfort zones. That also leads into the fact of the other side of Uranus, that it may bring a rebellious streak through you, my Taurus friends, that people aren't used to. You're the hub of the wheel. You are always what people depend on to be the stable energy, to be the provider, to be the one that handles and shoulders all the burdens, right? And as Uranus moves through your sign, you're ready to free that up a little bit so you have more time for you. Uranus wants you to do what's best for you. So there's definitely a push for you to live your life on your terms more so. And that's cool. Like, you totally get the universal stamp of okay, approval, whatever for that. Let me tell you that. And because of this as well, it's an intensive year of personal growth and self-development this year, and a lot of that, I may as well just finish talking about Taurus now, because it's like, this is a total overview of it, because this is Uranus too. This is where the cycle begins for the next 7 years, setting that precedence for really living in the purpose of being a Taurus. Now, you're like, what are you talking about, Kristen? What do you mean? So you set this idea in motion, right, before your soul comes to this earth plane, before you're born. And you say, this lifetime, I want to achieve this, and I want to do this. And that's where our birth charts come in so handy, because it shows us that roadmap of what our soul chose to do coming into this lifetime. But our sun sign, that represents where we're going to tie our energy, our essence, and our ego into the most. And choosing to be a Taurus this lifetime, you are here for financial stability. You are here for security. You are here to be the provider, to be that hub of the wheel, to be the dependable one. Taurus also deals with health. Okay. Now, when I tell this to my clients all the time, in the world of astrology, it's either black or white. There's no gray. So it's either one way or another. So you are a Taurus that incarnated in this lifetime to learn how to make money for yourself, how to sustain that money, how to keep that money, how to grow that money. You are here to learn how to take better care of health for yourself, how to live with a regimented life, how to put that health as a top priority. Or it's the other side, right? And you are here making that money. You finally are, and you're ready to help others learn how to do so. You can show others how, through their hard work and efforts as an earth sign like yourself, how that creates the abundance in life. Or you're one that's very focused on your health, and you know how that mind-body connection works, and you're here to teach and share that to others through your own example of the life that you live. Okay, which side of that spectrum do you fall on, Taurus? Okay, because Uranus coming through is going to push you to greater heights with whichever way that is. If you're a Taurus that has consistently battled with your weight and your health your entire lifetime, a planet like Uranus coming through is going to liberate you from those chains that hold you back from being able to really achieve that level of health and fitness that you've always wanted. If you're a Taurus that is constantly struggling in lack in terms of finances, this is a situation where Uranus coming through, its main focus is to get you into financial security by the time this 7 years goes through. This is a major transit, okay? This affects everyone on this planet Earth, okay? In terms of financial freedoms, this is going to bring some major technological breakthroughs in the world of banking, in the healthcare industry. I think people are going to be unbelievably amazed that by the time this transit is over, we're going to literally be able to print out new livers for people on a printer. And I know that sounds crazy, but like legit, watch this video like 6 years from now, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, she was so right. There are amazing technological advances that are coming our way in these areas. But it's also pushing us to greater levels of taking better care of ourselves and our bodies and our financial health as well. So that's definitely something that will continue to come through. But like I said, that feeling of wanting to break free is going to be a very strong theme with all of my Taurus friends. And this is going to be a tough pill to swallow for those around you that are, I don't want to say like they take advantage of it, but I'll say they take advantage of it, because there probably are some that are so used to that the universe is pushing them to greater levels of self-sufficiency. And in order for that to happen, you have to dial back the burdening, carrying it all on your shoulders and lightening that load so you can focus on you and what you want to do. Have that time to dedicate to your consistent daily fitness, or have that time to teaching that to others in new ways. There's so many things that come with this, but definitely that push is like feeling like you're being electrocuted to these greater areas of new freedom. You're going to crave it. You're going to want it. And that's okay. All right. Follow what your instincts are telling you. Enough about Uranus, right? 10 minutes of it. But I tell you what, this is a dramatic thing. But let's move on to the next area. So let's just talk about finances for Taurus. Everything I said obviously is still applicable. But this is a year where Jupiter is going through that second house of yours. This is a year where, or not second house, I'm sorry, 8th house. Boop. So as Jupiter moves through that 8th house in astrology deals with a lot of debt and who you are in debt to. Jupiter is the planet of good luck, all right? And it takes 12 years to go around this wheel. Now, as it moves into that 8th house, it wants to bring luck and energy and abundance It wants you to have that load lightened in terms of debts that are owed. All right. This can also be karmic debts too from previous lifetimes. This isn't just financial debts. This is also the house of um, sex. So hey, Taurus, this is a good thing too for the next year. This having Jupiter, the planet, a lot going through that house too, really helping you connect, and that helps with the mind, body, spirit connection as well, of course. But that's a wonderful thing too. It hasn't been there since 2007. I mean, hey, you know. But the eighth house also deals with um, other areas that are. It's known as the house of dark and taboo things that people don't necessarily like to talk about. People don't like to talk about sex. Like, I mean, come on. People don't like to talk about their death that they have. But what else falls into that category is death and loss and the transformation that happens from the endings that have to occur in our life. This is where psychological issues fall into. This is where grief falls into. This is the house that addictions fall into. So as Jupiter tours that house, it's going to pull those issues out, especially if they're at the root of your health and financial issues, right? You can see where that would be, where addictions and debts fall into that category, okay? And especially if you're carrying a karmic debt of not taking good care of yourself or your financial health. From a previous lifetime, you said, I'm going to be a Taurus this lifetime because that guarantees I'm going to make the money to sustain myself. This is where Jupiter coming through this year is going to help to balance that debt and really set you moving forward for the next 7 years where you're going to be liberated from that. This is amazing energy. But on another side of it too, 8th house deals with shared resources. So that's anything like your partner's income. Okay, let's say that's a shared resource. It's not necessarily the money you make, but you benefit from it. When Jupiter moves through that 8th house, this could be a year where your spouse, your partner, what have you, your business partner, is making some dang good loot. They get a raise, they get a promotion, they, what have you. And this is going to be a fantastic year in terms of that trickling down and affecting your bottom line as well. So that's a wonderful thing. In general, if you are in business and in a partnership with somebody, this is a tremendous year for that because it's going to be extremely beneficial for them, which is going to be extremely beneficial for you as a result. So making new connections, making new business contacts, and working in different ways, because Uranus is going to push you in different directions. If you work with those little triggers that say, I need to do this a little different, and it connects you and networks you with different people in terms of your business, go with it because it's ultimately going to prove to be very financially fruitful for you in the end, okay? And as Mars goes through Gemini, that does technically rule your second house of finances. That's going to be March 31st through May 16th. This is going to be a really strong time for you to have that courage to stand up. Okay, for my Taurus friends, I mean, you are the ones that work hard for your money. You do. I tell you what, either you're one Taurus that does or you don't. There's no gray area. But this is something where Mars going through that second house of yours has not been there since 2017. And as it comes back, it gives you this strength to stand up and say, look, boss, I've been working hard and I deserve this raise. And by golly, I tell you what, the energy with everything going on with Taurus this year is going to make sure that that raise comes your way and that you get everything that's due to you because you've already earned it. This is where the scales get balanced this year in terms of that. So definitely pay attention in that time frame for what happens from March to May. And any opportunity where you need to stand up and voice yourself, you're going to have that courage and you're going to get it done. And it's going to be good for you ultimately. So for home and family, let's move on. That's enough of money. Let's go on to home and family. Now what we have happening there is that the eclipse that happened already, but we're still in that energy right now anyway, on January 21st, proved to be the ending of a 2-year cycle. You wanted to start some new, you wanted to implement some, what kind of words am I using here? You wanted to implement some new changes into your family, into your home 2 years ago around this time frame, okay? Whether it's changing things up with the way the family works, moving, a dynamic, maybe you voiced your opinion and said these things have to change. This has come back and that 2-year cycle has ended. And at that January 21st eclipse that happened on Monday, that resurfaced again. Okay, so whatever those changes were, they've come back and they're kind of saying, hey, where do we stand with that? Because ultimately it's trying to get you to greater levels of happiness within the home. And it does prove to be a good thing. Really, it ultimately does in the long run. Now, this is another thing where this year, in terms of that home and like literal home, like your actual home, that is something where you're probably going to be doing some home improvement type projects to your house, because there is a lot of energy with Mars moving through there where it hasn't been there in the 2 years. And it's really going to give you that push to beautify your home and kind of make that environment a little more happy and working with where your self is at nowadays. Let's move on to relationships next, okay? Beyond just family. Not a whole ton of action going on up in the family house this year, just some changes that you maybe want to make cosmetically or internally in that structure. A little bit of push for that. But so let's move on to like romantic relationships, okay? Now the Mercury retrograde periods are going to be your keys to success. When these retrograde periods happen, really pay attention to what's going on communication wise with your partner, okay? Because these are going to be guideposts for how to make those changes that you wanted to implement. Remember, we just talked about that with the home, all right, that maybe started 2 years ago. So these retrograde periods for Mercury are March 5th through March 28th. We have it again July 7th through July 31st. And then the last one is going to be October 31st, happy Halloween, to November 20th. So pay attention to what's happening up in that time frame and think deeply about what it is that you want from your partner, or if you're single, what you want in a partner, and how you are going to be able to express that, because Mercury is all about communication. And this is going to be hitting a reset button on how you ask to get your wants and needs fulfilled by your partner. All right. Definitely some great energy with that. Now, especially the October 31st to November 19th retrograde, that is going to be one where if you are single, especially, you may find that somebody comes back into your life in that time frame. This is a time for second chances, and that the delays from that last time, maybe when you tried to get together, are over, and you're able to move forward after the retrograde ends on the 19th of November. So another good thing for new energy. This is new energy for existing relationships, or this is fantastic energy for a new relationship to begin when Mars, the planet that makes things go, it pushes things to happen, moves through the sign of Scorpio, ironically, November 19th. How weird is that? To January 3rd of 2020. Now, when Mars moves through that sign in your relationship house, in your house of marriage, in your house of partnerships, this is also business partnerships too. So, keep your ears perked up. There's some amazing opportunities for new networking for you this year. But in terms of marriage relationships and such, Mars moving through there is going to either really push that energy for you to meet that new person, bring that old person back in, right? Because there's second chances happening with that Mercury retrograde just before that. Or it's going to usher in some new energy and much needed reviving of passion in your existing committed relationship too. So this is a wonderful energy. Man, it hasn't been there since 2017, so Mars is trying to bring a little bit of fire back into your life. I tell you what, in a lot of ways. So in terms of career, let's move on to that one next. The eclipses that are out there this year, well, a couple of them, and and a full moon, that's a good one too, are extremely lucky periods for you in terms of your career. Things are shifting for you, Taurus. to move into those greater levels of what your soul chose to incarnate for this lifetime to make the money. Because remember, that's why you're here. You're like, I am making the money this lifetime. And now as Uranus moves through the sign over the next 7 years, it's really about doing what you love to make that money, because then you're going to make even more of it, right? So pay attention to what happens January 30th or 20th. I lied. January 20th, February 19th, and then we have a full moon on August 15th. Those are extremely lucky periods for you in terms of career. So, you know, heads up to what's happening around you. Somebody suggests, you know, sending in a resume to these people. A new partner tries to work with you. Just, you'll know. Your soul's going to know. They're very lucky periods for that, to move on to new things, especially if you want to move on to a new career. Those eclipses, though, that I'd be talking about, that's more about spiritual growth this year for you. Eclipses in astrology always bring in new energy. They're ready to push out the old and bring in the new. And where this is happening for you is in your house of spirituality. It's in the house of travel. It's writing. It's, religion. So as the eclipses go through, there's a big push for all of the above. Push to travel and experience new things and explore your horizons, whether they're in your own mind, push beyond the boundaries of what you're used to, explore your horizons in terms of different religions and their beliefs, different cultures, their beliefs. Maybe this is a chance where you want to go back to school and you want to take on a new type of career, right, for making that money. There is such a push out there for these eclipses to usher in amazing new energy for that to happen. And in that, I think it's going to be amazing how much you will feel by the end of the year that your general outlook and perspective on life has changed and it's taken on a much more spiritual role. You don't have to be religious to be spiritual, right? I mean, I just had some clients here for a reading today, and we talked quite a bit about how, religion and God are separate. They're separate entities, and we all have a special divine connection with the energy of God, and each connection is unique, and each person's view of God is unique. And nobody's view is right, and nobody's view is wrong. All of us are right, because all of that energy makes up the energy that is God. And this is a year where you explore that and strengthen that bond. And ultimately is going to help propel you through the next several years of personal growth and change moving forward. So now we are going to hone in on birthdays, certain things that are going to be happening out there in the sky. If you have a birthday that lands in this area, I highly suggest, however, that you get a personal chart reading. This is for all Taurus, and these things will apply to you, but your own specific birth chart is like your roadmap to this lifetime. And there are going to be specific things that are happening in your chart that may not necessarily be happening here. So I have a link below. Please follow that. I do once a year, my January special, $77 for the hour reading, and we can go over all of these things and how they directly impact your personal chart and your personal growth. But in general, birthdays, we have April 20th through the 27th. That Uranus that's going to be bringing through the unexpected events and really pushing for that freedom is right on top of your natal sun. It's in the same spot in the sky the sun was the day that you were born. This doesn't happen to 80% of the people in the world ever in their life, and here it is happening to you. And so this is going to be a year where freedom, independence, and rebellion kind of reign, and that's okay. There's a reason why it's there, unless it's being hurtful to people, but for the most part, it's trying to break you free, right? And free up more time for you to discover who you are and what you want out of life. You'll realize what you need to break away from in order to break through. I like that. I think that's a really good way to look at it. So that's for y'all. If your birthday lands between May 4th and May 8th, Neptune out there in the sky is going to be making a harmonious sextile to your natal sun. Now, you are the one that's going to benefit tremendously from exploring that spiritual side of yourself this year, because that's almost like a key to making the remaining items in your life come together. You might be the one that's like, yeah, well, I came here to make money, but I don't know what the heck it is I want to do. This is a year where exploring that connection with God and working on your divine connection directly with God will strengthen that channel, so that way you can receive the communication directly from God and your angels and your guides as to what you need to do. So explore that, explore your creative side. That's another thing that Neptune brings as well. And through that, I think you'll find amazing breakthroughs. For those of you with a May 11th through the 14th, Pluto out there is making a harmonious trine to your sun. These are slow-moving planets, and when they make dramatic connections like these to your natal sun, as they do, these are once-in-a-lifetime connections. Everything I was just saying, these are once-in-a-lifetime connections. This one in particular, Pluto, this means that this is a year of major transformation for you. You are really going to embody that energy of the Uranus moving into Taurus mindset. Oh, I didn't even tell you when that happens. That happens in March. BT dubs. That goes in March 8th. That goes in. But this is going to be a year for you for letting go of bad habits. Old cycles that don't work for you, but especially bad habits that keep holding you back. This is a year where Uranus is going to work to free you from that. And Pluto, what I like about Pluto is it dramatically changes it and it ends it abruptly. Like, this is where the ending occurs so the transformation can begin. And so, yes, definitely a wonderful year for that. So pay attention to what the universe is telling you need to let go of. Because when you do, amazing things will come as a result. So, hi Taurus friend, thank you for your patience as I took forever in my healing process, get my lungs back to normal speed here. And thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed new year. Thank you.